All set. Hello, sports movie fans, and welcome to Locker Room Flicks podcast. I'm Frank Sullivan, and here with me is my co-host Frank Darling and my great uncle Frank. How you doing today?
Good day today. Beautiful day here in Connecticut.
Yeah, it's kind of muggy here. I ain't gonna lie. We got an exciting show today. We have two special guests, I should say. We have Siege and what do you like, Tony or?
Tony works great.
Tony works. All right, Siege and Tony from the Bruh Meets World podcast. Do you want to kind of explain that podcast and the concept?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys so much for having us on. Bruh Meets World. Basically, we are two black guys who review a very white show. The show Boy Meets World from the 90s. We have been on the Pod Meets World podcast a few times.
Oh, that's awesome.
We're excited to be here and speak 90s nostalgia with you guys as well.
Yes, very, very true. This movie is...
Yeah, welcome. It's nice to have somebody different.
Yeah.
Be here. Thrilled to talk about this movie specifically, by the way. Yes. This is one of those I had on VHS growing up, and I watched 1,000 times. I'm so excited to be here.
Good. No, that's kind of where I heard you guys, because I used to listen. I'm a little, because you know, we had our first child. So I have a, I don't know, 2-month-old, I don't know how you want to say
Congratulations,
it.
yeah.
Thank you. So you may hear her, you know, cry or scream, but hopefully she keeps it down. So that's kind of, I've been off on leave, so I'm kind of a little behind the some of my favorite podcasts. How'd you guys get into podcasting? Why'd you what's the thing?
You know, it really just started because we loved having conversations about TV shows and movies, to the point where, even far before technology allowed it, we found ways to send each other voice memos and videos on Facebook and MySpace back in the day. Just awesome. Just little 1-minute recaps of what we thought about TV shows and movies. And then as podcasting started to take off, Siege started thinking hey, we should get into this. And, we tried a few different podcasts. We have a bunch of demos that we did, just trying to find something that would stick. And we reviewed a single episode of Boy Meets World. It's their famous Halloween episode. And then there was Sean. And that's
the Scream one?
Yes,
yep.
The Scream parody.
Yep.
Yes, very famous. We did that as part of a Halloween run we were doing. And when we did that one episode, we just talked about it for we couldn't stop talking about it. And we just got so excited that we were just oh, we could do a whole podcast just on this show. And now rewatch podcasts are everywhere now. So we were definitely ahead of the trend.
Yeah, no, they definitely are. It's funny because, I got into, my co-host, was with me for about 40 episodes or so. And he got too busy to do it because he had, I was listening to podcasts at work, and he had a rewatch podcast about the King and Queens.
Oh, yeah. Ooh, what was that called? If you can promote.
It's called Shutty Uppy.
Okay.
So, and it's funny because Frank loves the show too.
I love it.
I love it. It's very underrated, if you ask me.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So he's not with them anymore, unfortunately. But so him and his two co-hosts, had their own show. They're still doing it, but so me and my wife, listen. So me and my wife were guests on their podcast, and they had a whole format and such. And we just love doing it so much. We're hey, let's start our own podcast, as everyone else wants to, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So we did what you guys, we kind of tiptoed around. We were doing movies where we would actually watch a movie and kind of break each almost scene down, and it was long. And
everyone tries that. Everyone's oh, I'll go through, and then as you said, the third hour, you're I can't do this on a regular basis.
And it's funny too because we started out we did The Wizard of Oz, which is a long movie, and Shawshank. So we have two recordings, which they're both long movies. They're both great movies.
Yeah,
very good.
But
yes, definitely.
And just kind of and then I just came up with the concept because again, there's a million podcasts out there, so I was just trying to think of something different, and we ended up going with sports movies. you know?
Which is such a great subgenre of movie. Like, one of the things I love about like the Marvel movies is that like, the Ant-Man is kind of like a heist movie, even though it's a superhero movie. And, there's all these different like genres that they steal from to build under the umbrella. And I feel like sports movies are like that too. Like sometimes it's about team building. Sometimes it's about one man overcoming an obstacle within himself. Sometimes it's about like overcoming the obstacles that the world throws at you. And there's so many different ways you can approach the sports movie genre. So I think it's just a rife for exploration.
You're right, and then we have some. Like I said, we're up to almost 50 episodes actually. And you get these movies where like we've done like Happy Gilmore, where it's like it's a comedy first, but it's got a lot of hockey action. And then you got other ones like what's the Adam Sandler one where he's doing sports betting? We did that one too. I'm drawing a blank. What's it called?
I know what it is.
The jewelry one.
Uncut Gems.
Uncut Gems. Oh
Yeah.
my, that one.
So
he screams
forgot
the
that
whole
is-
movie.
A sports movie. It is a sports movie, but that just gave me anxiety for
the entire time.
well, yeah, no, you're right. It's filmed that way.
Yeah.
I know. It's crazy.
But so yeah, you get into these things where like, is it really a sports movie? It isn't. You know what I mean? So it's, but we're having a lot of fun doing this. So,
question: would you consider Babe a sports movie, considering that sheep wrangling is a sport?
Great question.
That is a good one.
I don't even remember that movie, to be honest with you.
Give it 3 years of podcasting, you'll circle back to it.
Well, it's funny because like we were first coming up, like, are we going to have enough movies to watch? But then when you start putting them down and like, holy shit, there's a lot out there.
Yeah.
Oh, there is. Yeah.
You could spend the year just doing boxing movies. You could spend the year just doing football movies. Like there's so much out there.
You're right. And there's a ton of just, I don't say like C, D movies, but there's a ton of those movies that you don't even think about.
Oh, absolutely. Like the Red Box movies, or like the I was gonna say even like Turner Classic movies are ones where it's like, oh, these are like deep cuts, but they're really important because they shape the genre.
Also, you can decide if dancing is a sport, because that would kind of open things up a little bit as well.
Oh
no,
yeah,
it really is. Yeah, no, it's definitely. It's funny because you guys obviously watched Disney Channel back in the day, so there's a ton of Disney Channel original ones, and especially we just did Brink 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, I think. So we just did Brink 2 weeks ago, and then after watching it on Disney Plus, it brings up like there's like 6 other ones.
I would say Look Up the Leprechaun. Isn't that like
Look at the Irish?
Look at the Irish.
It's a basketball movie.
Movie, yeah.
Yeah. But like there's a motocross one. I saw another bowling one. I'm trying to think. It's called Alley Cats.
Yep.
There's a great motocross movie called Rad. I don't know if you guys did that one yet, but it's from the 80s. It's such a B, like it's so 80s in like the best way.
Really?
Definitely some good nostalgia there.
Yeah, so there's definitely a lot out there. You just gotta be able to find these movies, because that's my biggest gripe about this one movie.
They're hard to find, some of them. Yeah.
This movie was hard to find.
Too hard to find for a Disney movie.
Yeah, we'll get into that when we get into the episode. Do you want to Frank? Do you want to start us off?
All right. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, we hear you good.
Okay. It was Angels in the Outfield. It's a 1951 remake. It was come out July 15th, 1994. It's 102 minutes long. It had an opening week of $9 million, $50 million gross, and a $24 million budget. It was directed by William Deere, and it's starring Joseph Gordon-Levitt as Roger Bauman, Danny Glover, great Danny Glover, as George Knox, Christopher Lloyd is Al the Boss Angel, and you gotta love the little kid, Milton Davis Jr., that plays JP. The simple synopsis is, when a boy prays for a chance to have a family, if the California Angels win the pennant, angels are assigned to make that possible. And I watched it on the same, I think the same links that I gave, that Frank gave you guys. That's where I watched it. So.
Yeah, is that how you guys watched it?
The less than credible link. Yeah.
That's the Japanese link? Yeah.
Exactly.
It works great.
Yeah, it did. It was flawless.
Yeah.
Good old Japan.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know why this isn't on Disney Plus. It doesn't make sense.
You know, Disney has a way of burying movies they're not super proud of, and maybe this just falls under that umbrella.
I was like, so I've heard that Disney used to own part of the Angels, the California Angels.
Yeah.
Yes, they did.
And
Yes,
they
did.
stopped ownership in like 2002 or something.
Yeah.
So I wondered if, like, since it was no longer a Disney property, they were like,
that's a good point. You could be right. Yeah.
So
you could be right.
So we were talking earlier, and I think, again, you look into it where it says like, oh, the restoration fees to restore it and everything, I guess, were too much, which I call a little BS on that. I honestly believe it's the whole God aspect. They're not gonna say it, but because granted, that's the whole movie. It's Angels in the Outfield, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's interesting.
But what I like about this movie, and I don't know if we're like jumping to get ahead of ourselves. What I like about this movie is that Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character Roger prays to any god. He's like, be you male, female, what? Like, I don't know what God is. I'm not assigning God a gender. I'm not saying God is one thing, but whoever's out there,
like that,
I'm talking to you. And I just thought that was great. I also want to note that he ends his prayer with a woman, just in case. And a woman gets the he's the only one whose prayers get answered. I just want to say, maybe we're all doing it wrong.
I asked that same question. I was like, why is this kid's prayers getting answered and no one else's? It's because of the woman. That must have been it.
God was like, finally, someone's giving credit.
Oh, that's good. I like that. That's awesome.
That's funny.
I did also note that it was like a non-denominational faith movie. Like it was faith. It was almost a movie about faith itself versus it being specific to any modern faith.
I agree totally with you. Yes, that's very good.
So did you know? I mean, this isn't. We were starting to go into the movie a little bit. So did you know there's a sequel, or I guess you can call it
football one, right?
There's a football one and there's a baseball one. So there is Angels in the End Zone with Matthew Lawrence, our favorite, right?
Oh yeah.
Which I think I might have seen. I don't remember. And then there's also Angels in the Infield with David Allen Greer.
Oh, that's interesting.
So it has me wondering: are those movies on Disney Plus?
Is Christopher Lloyd in the sequels?
I didn't quite look in. Is he?
Christopher Lloyd is absolutely in the Angels in the End Zone. He's the only character, including the Angels. He's the only character who crosses over. I don't know about Angels in the End Zone because I found out about that 5 seconds ago.
Okay.
What, was Matthew McConaughey too good to come back?
What's funny is this is how we are. So we apologize if we're doing this, but this was Matthew McConaughey's like first big break. So he loves this movie, and Joseph Gordon-Levitt loves this movie.
He's only
so
a
it's
kid
like,
here.
What is keeping us from getting the reboot
I know
that we need?
I agree.
I don't know.
All right, so we're going to do the fun 5 facts, Frank.
Yep. So we'll do my
Frank's 5 fun facts he's got for us.
All right.
Take it away.
All right, so fact number 1, this film is not the only connection between the Angels and Disney. Obviously, we talked about it earlier. 2 years after the film's release, Walt Disney Corporation bought the Angels and owned the team till 2003. So you were pretty much right. In addition, Walt Disney was one of the original board members on the actual the Angels for the team.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's interesting.
Very similar to what Disney did with the Anaheim Ducks.
Very good.
That
right.
was that was where I was going to go. My next thing, because we did Mighty Ducks was like our third episode, and we found they made the hockey team because of the movie, because it's the success of the movie.
Yeah.
What's
I
your
love those integration ideas?
I know. You've seen what, all three movies, I would imagine, or all
of Mighty Ducks?
Yeah,
I know them like the back of my hand.
Okay.
I grew up with those movies. Yeah, I even watched the cartoon that Disney used to make in the 90s.
That's awesome.
Frank, you've seen all three of them, or what?
Yeah.
Which,
so we
have this common debate around my house whether which movie is the best. My wife seems to think it's the first one. I believe it's the second one. Do you have an opinion on this?
I wouldn't say the third one, because usually the third one is
that one doesn't really count.
It was doesn't even have Emilio.
Yeah, I know.
But what do you, team 1 or 2? What do you think?
See, I was actually going to let T be the authority on this because I haven't watched in so long. My heart says 1, but I haven't watched 2 in forever, so I may be different now. T, where are you at?
I feel the same, and this is controversial take. I feel the same about Mighty Ducks as I do about the Home Alones, in which the first one is a better movie, but I enjoy the second one more.
I agree with you. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
No, it's funny because like I said, my brother-in-law is a big hockey guy. And we're actually doing a hockey movie next week, and Mighty Ducks, the second one's up against Mystery Alaska, which I don't know if you've seen that movie. But the hockey play is way, and again, they're older, so the hockey play is way better in the second one, which is like, I don't know, I the second one is my favorite. I don't know.
Oh, it's great. You know, the only thing I have issues with watching it as an adult, and maybe you'll have this as well, is this whole idea that every one of these Pee-wee games gets like national attention and is in newspapers and getting on, like they have reporters giving the play-by-play, and you know, at some point I was just like, wow, is this even a thing? Like, or do kids have an Olympics? Like, these were all questions I was asking while watching it.
I get what you're saying. Yeah, it's true.
That's funny. All right, so we'll go to fact number 2. So this is a little bit about the team. At the time of its production and release, the Angels, who entered the AL League in 61, have never won an AL pennant or appeared in a World Series until I believe it was 2002 was when they won their first pennant and World Series, which is pretty funny.
They played the Giants that year, San Francisco, I think.
Did they?
San Francisco Giants, almost positive, yeah.
So they really were just the biggest losers in baseball for the longest time.
Yeah, you guys were always close, though. You had some great teams. You just were close. You just never couldn't get over the hump. You got beat by the Red Sox one year for the pennant. So you've had some good teams, though.
It's really funny. Disney stopped owning them in 2003. So it's almost as if Disney was just waiting for them to be good enough to sell. They were like,
to sell,
after the one win, they were like, and we're out.
Where you guys are located, Anaheim, right? Or no?
We're LA, which is not far from Anaheim.
Okay.
But it is a drive. I don't want anyone to think that they are 20 minutes away from each other.
That's any city in California, right? It's
I don't know where you guys are in Connecticut, but the drive to New York is probably very similar from the drive from Anaheim to LA.
Really?
Yeah. You're probably
so
right,
I'm like 20 minutes from New Haven. If you know, I mean, pizza capital of the world.
Sure.
So we're about an hour and change from New York City, so it's not bad.
About the same from Anaheim with traffic.
Really? Yeah, that's wild. All right, so we'll do fact number 3. So Leslie Nielsen was the first choice for the role of Head Angel, but he was too busy making Naked Gun 33 and 1/3 the final result. Have you seen that movie?
Yes, I have.
You have?
I've seen it.
I've seen the first Naked Gun.
They're goofy, but they're okay.
Really? That's funny.
Naked Gun movies. Yeah.
So Nielsen and Lloyd starred in a movie following year, but I guess Tony Danza and Christopher, they were both in Taxi.
Yeah.
So I guess that's the big connection, which I've never seen Taxi. Got to be honest.
Great show. It used to be one of those Nick at Night shows that I got obsessed with. Really irreverent humor. Danny DeVito is fantastic in it. It has Andy Kaufman, if you're familiar with him, it has fantastic stuff as well. So really like one of the better shows of the 70s.
Really? Huh. No, I've never seen it.
It's really funny. I thought that Who's the Boss, which was Tony Danza's other like big show, was where I knew and fell in love with Tony Danza.
Yeah.
But I'm actually watching this. I was like, I think it was this movie because I watched this movie repeatedly as a child. Really? And in '94, I would have been 6. So yeah, I watched this nonstop, and I was like, oh, I think this is where I fell in love with Tony Danza.
Wow. I've never seen the show. Who's the Boss?
Who's the Boss? It's good.
Yeah.
Another really classic 90s or 80s television show.
I was going to say I had a big connection to Christopher Lloyd at this time too, because I mean, he had done the 3 Back to the Futures. He had just done both Addams Families when this movie came out. And then from this point out, he does a list of kid movies throughout the rest of the 90s. So he definitely changed his brand to be more of like a kids movie actor. But like, just like Robin Williams, like I just fell in love with him because of the content that he was creating.
Yeah,
makes sense.
It's funny because I think Franco agreed. I don't know how you guys have been to the Universal Studios. I don't know if you've been on the Back to the Future ride.
Oh yeah,
it still brings me to tears when I hear how they tore it down. Well, not tore it down, but rebranded it to be The Simpsons.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking. It was one of my favorite rides.
I know.
Yeah, I'm getting a little of the delay.
Yeah.
But lost my train of thought here.
You were talking about the Back to the Future ride, and I will say that they actually auctioned off some of those extra DeLoreans. I don't know what happened to them, but
did
someone
they
has
really?
them. I believe so. Yeah.
Really?
Wow.
I'm all tossed. Anyways,
have you done your 5th fact?
I was only 3. So these other 2 ones are kind of like little facts. So the filming, they filmed it outside of the Oakland Coliseum. And I guess they did a lot of the interior, or not interior, exterior, I should say. And then for my last fact, when shown in syndication on ABC, as seen in 2019, which I don't think this has been on TV in a while, I don't know. The Winston cigarette sign is on center field is kind of blurred out. So I thought that was interesting.
That's why Disney doesn't want to watch it.
Maybe, yeah.
There are 1,000 reasons. None of them are good, in my opinion. Like, this movie is too good to be kept hidden.
No, I agree for sure. No, for sure. Frank, you good over there?
I'm fine.
Okay. All right. Well, let's actually talk about the movie then. Come on.
Yeah, he's breaking up a little bit, Frank.
Yeah. Frank is. Yeah.
It happens. Trust me, we have done this so many times. We get it.
We've done this for years. We have audio issues till this day. Like it's one of those things that's so like no matter
frustrating.
Yeah, because you can't. It just always pops up in the most inconvenient times. Yeah,
I know. All right. Well, let's get into the cast then.
Sure.
Actors and actresses.
All-star cast. Like,
Stacked.
Can you believe who is on this roster? It's amazing.
They didn't know who they had on the roster.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I didn't know half these people were in the. I mean,
no.
I mean, and most of these actors have gone on to win Academy Awards.
Yeah. Yes, that's right. Adrian Brody won the Academy Award.
Mm-hmm. McConaughey as well.
Adrian Brody won the Academy.
He's
one of the players.
If you can repeat that, you clipped on my end, Frank.
Yeah, me too.
I said
You,
Adrian
yeah.
Brody. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Now we can.
Yeah, Adrian Brody. He won an Academy Award. Yeah.
The kid JP, I mean, knocked it out the park, but apparently he got out of acting. I tried looking up some of his stuff and just disappeared.
It's a shame. He had such a natural.
He's in Mad City.
talent.
That's it.
I didn't get any of that. Like, Frank, if you
Yeah.
want to pause, by the way, I would check on your microphone because you're like, I'm not getting anything you're saying on our end, and I want to make sure you guys have a good recording.
Hang on. All right. Is that any better?
That is better.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, I think so.
The
Nervous.
delay's still there, but
Yeah.
at least his sound was better.
You think we're gonna continue?
Yeah, I mean, like, it's your recording, so I want to make sure
Okay.
that we give you guys the best
I
quality.
know. It's from here. Like I said, if I was at home, I wouldn't have a problem going with this. So, but I'm not. There's nothing I can do about it. I'm on vacation. So, doing the best I can with it. That's it.
Yeah.
You're doing great. You're doing
Can you hear me
see-
now?
Yeah, you're talking fine now, but as
Yeah.
soon as you start talking about the movie, we get
great.
jinxed.
Yeah, I know that. I know.
Okay, go back. Cast.
Remember Tony Danza?
Yeah,
All right.
good.
Well, Tony Danza that plays Mel Clark. I gotta remember too. He was an amateur boxer. He was a Gold Glove boxer. Tony Danza. So he's a very good athlete playing in that. You know, he plays as a pitcher in the game. So he probably is a halfway decent ball player. He did play as a boxer. So some of these guys are pretty good athletes. McConaughey too. He played some sports in school. So
Tony Danza's in great shape in this movie. Like he could easily
Oh, yeah,
like be
definitely.
a, you know,
Oh,
I don't know why
on the
he didn't do
outside
more.
he is. According to Al, on the inside, he's just decaying.
That's very true. That's very true. He's been smoking too long. But on the
That
outside,
got
he's
me.
very
That
physically
scene at
fit.
the end where he's like, "Yeah, he's only got like 6 months left to live." I'm like, "Oh, this is getting dark here."
Kind of a crazy thing to tell a kid.
Yes, it's such a turn.
Very true.
It's like, is this kid supposed to just sit with that? Does he tell him?
Yes,
Like,
you just like they specifically imply that he just goes on with life being like, I guess this dude dies in 6 months, but I don't know. I can't say anything.
like something I would want someone to tell me.
yeah, that was a pretty sad scene. That was sad. That was
Yeah,
kind
very
of
true.
sad. It really was. Think about it.
It bothered me that I don't know the age difference between the two. So between Tony Danza and Danny Glover, I don't know. I guess as a coach and a player, I mean, I know he's supposed to be older in his career, but the age there's only like a 4-year age difference.
Well, they
that-
also kind of put in a history there. Like the movie implies that they used to play together, and that
The movie implies that Knox shoved a bunch of pills down Tony Danza's throat, into which Knox says, "I didn't make you swallow them." And then he trades him off only to get stuck with him years later. It was like a crazy backstory.
Yeah, you're right. That's a good point. You're right about that.
So that that was just kind of funny. And you know, we haven't even talked about, I know her as the Pigeon Lady.
Yes, Pigeon Lady.
From Home Alone 2. Yeah, Home Alone 2. Yep.
Maggie.
Apparently she's Irish.
Yeah.
Or Scottish.
There's a very
would
big
believe
difference. I think whichever one
Very
it is,
true.
you want to get it right because
Yeah.
they take that very seriously.
She so it said, yeah, Irish actress. She was born in Dublin, so you definitely don't hear her accent in that movie. You hear it a little bit in there's a fly flying around me. You hear a little bit in Home Alone, that's for sure.
She is one of those actresses
Yeah,
that because of my generation, I know her from like Angels in the Outfield and Home Alone, but she's also apparently like a Royal Shakespeare Company actress who's like probably done way more intense roles that I just don't know about. She will forever be the pigeon lady for me, and I don't know how she would feel about that, but she made such a big impression on me as a kid for that's always what I'll know her as.
I agree. Yeah, you're right about that. That's true.
It's so funny that you say that because there are two more like surprise castings that I just weren't expecting. One, speaking of, I thought you were going to say this. Her name is Diane Amos. She is the Pine Sol lady from the commercials. That's the power of Pine Sol, which was like number one throughout the night. She sits behind them in the bleachers when they at the first game. She's the black woman. I knew
it recognized her, but I couldn't place it.
The moment I saw, I was like, "That's the power of Pine Sol, baby!" And I looked it up, and that's her. And then also Dermot Mulroney.
Yes,
he goes, "Surprised to see me," and I'm like, "Yes, I am."
Yeah.
Playing prime deadbeat dad, slick back hair, leather jacket, smoking indoors in a foster home.
There's a lot of smoking indoors back there. You know, the movies. They smoke anywhere.
Wow.
It's such a weird.
One of the players on the team. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
One of the players on the team is Lionel Douglas that played Big Bird on Sesame Street.
What?
Oh,
yeah.
I did not realize he played him.
There's so many people you don't really. Yeah, he played the Big Bird. Yeah, played it for 7 years. I don't know when, but ways back. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Where was I getting at? When you watch some of these older movies, especially when it comes to like, you hear, you talking about Robin Williams, a little bit ago. We just rewatched Mrs. Doubtfire the other day. It's just like, what a shame he's gone. You hear when he goes to the restaurants, you hear not smoking, non-smoking. It sounds like such a foreign thing, but it's crazy.
Yeah, up until like mid-90s, that was pretty normal.
That was our lives, like in children's restaurants. And like I remember at like that Pizza Hut where like the pizza buffet, it was like, do you want a smoking or non-smoking section? So
the craziest thing is when they used to have it on like airplanes and movie theaters, and I was like, how do you separate the two?
I don't know.
That's funny, right? Yeah.
Let's see here. What's the other guy too? He's got the blue eyes. Neil McDonald.
Ben Johnson.
Oh,
Neil McDonald. Yes.
Oh, everything. Yeah. He's been in Arrow. He's been in all. He's a bad guy.
Yeah.
He played a much dumber character in this movie than I remembered.
He was like the man of my.
He's young here too. You remember that was what?
It's 94. It was just getting
like 30 years ago.
Oh my god.
That's 30 years ago, guys. Yeah. He's still an actor.
Yeah. He played the himbo of my dreams. I was like, this dude is just like good looking and dumb, but hilarious. He did his comedy so well, and I don't think he does a lot of comedy.
He was very good. And his eyes just they pop out like crazy blue.
Blue eyes, yeah. Big time. Yeah.
Yep. We used to quote that Jose, can you see line as kids all the time.
Really?
Yeah.
When did they say that?
Oh, like it's when they are saying the Pledge of Allegiance and the two, I think it's Diaz and there's like another one. The two Hispanic baseball players tell him that it's Josue. And he goes, oh, I've been saying it wrong my entire life.
That's funny.
Yeah. I remember that scene. Yeah. That was
all right. So favorite moments. What's your favorite moments in the movie? I mean, it looks like you guys can quote the whole movie, but
this is one we know well. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, the ending it's a great ending when Danny Glover, he calls both of the kids, takes them both in. That was awesome. That was.
He's crying.
Absolutely. When he tells Roger that he's adopted him, and Roger's like, I can't go without JP. I was like, you cannot go to a foster home and adopt the only white kid and leave the only black kid when you are a black person. Like, it's just, it would not be
very
allowed.
true. Yeah, I didn't even think of that. That's very true. Yeah. I know.
Yeah, that's good.
You know, what I really love, and we kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, was how this is a movie about like faith itself. You know, Roger at the beginning prays not really for the angels to win the pendant. He prays for a family. He's not very specific with this prayer either. He doesn't pray that his dad comes back. He just says, I really want a family. Can you help the angels win the pendant? And so, like, really, his prayers do get answered in just ways that he probably didn't think they would get answered in the beginning.
Yeah, very true.
And so when, you know, he has that moment with Danny Glover and JP at the end, you know, he has a family, but he has probably a better family than he wanted. He has a dad who actually wants to spend time with him, who can give him unlimited access to his favorite baseball team. And he also has a brother that he knows and loves. So it's just kind of his prayers were answered in unexpected ways.
Yeah.
When you guys talked about the ending,
more to it than you think, you know?
Yeah. When you guys talked about the ending, I thought you were talking about the especially if we're talking about faith, the idea that they tell Tony Danza's character that there are angels, that there's an angel out there when it's not, and like the flapping of the hands, and then everyone comes together.
Awesome.
To me, that's a memorable moment, but it's also like I was like, is
cool.
the angel going to show up? Is it not? Yeah.
Yeah, I rewatched it. I honestly didn't even remember this movie. For some reason, I remember seeing it maybe as a kid, but like I couldn't tell you, you know, start to finish what was going to happen. I kind of had the idea, but I forgot it was the whole aspect of the father and this was a really good movie. This is definitely hits you right here in the heart. So
his dad, I have to.
Yeah.
His dad's a piece of work. Is all I was gonna say. Was that like he tells this kid to his face, like, "Hey, we'll be a family again when the angels win the pendant," but he says it in such a way that, like, you know that Roger doesn't really understand what he means by that. He doesn't understand that his dad's like the opening scene is his dad basically saying, hey, our family's broken up. I'm going to sign you off to the courts and you're never going to see me again. But Roger still thinks there's hope. And he's like, oh, when are we going to be a family? Well, when the angels win the pendant. Kids don't understand sarcasm. Like he doesn't understand what's being said to him at this time. So it's just kind of cruel that his dad just kind of, not only the way he tossed him, but just he didn't even bother to really like tell him what was happening. Like this kid is just confused for like a majority of the movie.
To that point, T, when he actually gives him up and signs over the paper, and like they let Roger go into the court, not knowing that he has already had his father taken away from him. And this is the last time he will see his father. And his dad just walked like you guys could have warned someone.
I know. I agree totally. Yeah, it's crazy.
Go, Frankie.
Yeah, no, it put I guess a sad truth about, you know, foster homes. I hope it's not like that now. I don't really, you know how it is. I don't really know anyone that's been through the foster, you know, program or whatever you want to call it. But it's a sad truth. I hope it's not true, but.
Well, hopefully there's more oversight of these kids because they seem to get themselves in some sticky situations throughout the movie. And it seems like Maggie is kind of present, not really present, but
Maggie just lets them go off with complete strangers for hours on end.
Yeah. I mean, they went by themselves.
Yeah, that's
to the
true.
ball games.
She doesn't do baseball games.
No, like it's no big deal. Like we don't really have any big. This is the one thing about Connecticut. We don't really have any professional teams, so we have to go to New York, Boston, and I mean, even if I lived in New York, my mom, whether it was in 1994 or 2004, my mom's not letting me go into my mom's not letting me go to the Yankee game by myself.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, again, like it wouldn't be as bad if it wasn't specifically a movie about an adult telling two children, keep this secret between us. You can never tell anyone. Like that's the theme of this. It's just an adult being like, hey, we got our little secret. And they're like, yeah, okay. And it's like, that's where we get into trouble.
Also, JP at one point in the movie says he can't even tell time. Like he is so young. And I don't feel like it's one thing for Roger to maybe go to the game by himself, but JP just seems like he is like a baby, especially during those like Foster like bedtime scenes where he's getting made fun of by Miguel. I was like, this kid seems so young.
But he had to be what, like 6, 7?
6 tops.
Yeah. And Joseph Gordon, he's got to be what, 11, 12?
Yeah, I would think.
Say that, right?
Yeah, because he's 42 now. He's 42 years old now.
So, oh yeah, so that tracks then. Yeah,
42. Yeah.
That's funny. What I thought was probably the best thing about this situation was, they are able to get unlimited concessions from the sporting thing, and I just thought like, wow, this is such like a huge deal in 1994. But to think about getting unlimited concessions now, like 3 nachos will set you back like $80 at the stadium now. So I was like, wow, that's probably the best part of this.
Actually, you're right, because they're foster kids. They're probably not eating that great. So to like have unlimited food access to food.
What's when was the last time you've been to a baseball game, or like I say MLB or?
Actually, so the Dodgers game. There's a little controversy this year because of what happened with the Dodgers and Pride, but every year they do like a Pride night, and a lot of people from LA go over to support the team. So that was the last time I went.
I can't remember the last time I've been to a live sporting event.
Really?
Yeah.
We got to change that.
Yeah,
I know.
How about you, Frank? Go ahead.
Probably about 3 years ago when I went to Citi Field, watched the Mets play the Braves.
Citi Field.
So,
Frank's the. I'm more of a football guy. Frank's kind of the baseball. His daughter, my cousin, she's a big softball girl. They love softball. She played in college. But last year. We went to Yankee game. I'm trying to remember where else. And then I think the year before that, I might have been the same. I can't remember. We went to Fenway. I went to for a bachelor party. We went to a game there, so that was fun. It's cool. It's a cool stadium, Fenway. Both stadiums are awesome though.
I prefer the Mets stadium. Like that's like the Mets are my New York team if I have to, and I prefer their stadium. I think it's really centered around the fans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's
I'm a Mets fan.
Yeah, he's the Met fan.
Unfortunately, right now, but
I don't know if you guys know, but we have a train that basically takes us right to Yankee Stadium from New Haven. So it's nice if you're going to the Yankee game. It's like it's still a decent 2-hour train ride, but it gets you right there. You don't got to worry about parking or anything like that. So it's nice.
Long enough to sober up on the way home.
Oh yeah. Those train rides are awful. Trying to think of what else we want to talk about here. The graphics I thought were pretty cool for 94. No.
Yeah, like the way they shot the angels, like the way they showed them lifting up the characters. Like I didn't really question any of the graphics that I was seeing in this. And it's interesting because I've seen a lot of summer movies this year where I'm just like, wow, the CGI looks terrible. And it's almost as if this movie from 1994 does a better job than some of these movies that have come out this last year in terms of creating something that doesn't suspend my disbelief, where I'm not questioning what I'm seeing as I'm watching it.
Yeah, I agree. You're right. Yeah, do a nice job.
Speaking of the graphics, it just reminded me that this movie is so interesting because hundreds of people are watching physics just go out the window, and no one seems to care.
Without a question,
it'd be one thing if Matthew McConaughey's just went up really high, or even what is it called, the Himmerling, the Hemmering moment. It's all of that would be okay if it actually looks seamless, and it's oh, you look like you created some kind of superhuman feat. But no, he's just hovering for 5 seconds, and the ball just slowly sits in front of the baseball bat, until someone's hitting it, almost as if it's loading. So it's you guys are watching physics just go out the window, and no one's just mentioning it.
Also, no one's asking the steroid question either. The bigger guy, before he goes up to hit the ball, they're oh, he's been hitless 20 times in a row, and then he knocks it out of the park, and I'm how many of these circumstances need to happen before you start questioning if these guys are juiced up or not? Is it angels, or is that just code on the streets?
I love that. You're right, the bat breaks, and if the bat is breaking, you would be you guys are on something.
It's funny because my wife was those bats don't shatter like that now, do they? I don't think they do. No, I don't know. The bats don't shatter like that anymore, right?
The ones, the maple, the ash ones, the maple ones break a lot more. Yeah, they still break. Oh yeah.
Would the bat break before the ball?
Good question.
Get logic out the window.
No, you just
Here's a question I had throughout the entirety of this movie, and I'm it made me question what I know about angels. What are angels? You know what I mean? Are angels fairy godmother figures? Are they warriors in God's army? Do they have preferences as to who wins a baseball game or not? I just had all of these questions as to what are the rules, because later on they say that Tony Danza is going to become an angel after he's done. And I'm just oh, so all of these angels are former people? Christopher Lloyd was a former person? I just had all these questions.
It looked like they reminded me of the Christmas tree toppers, the way they were all dressed in the white.
The long gowns.
Funny. Yeah. Long gowns.
Your question, there's a popular theory that the Judeo-Christian God is actually the trickster God, and he's just rebranded himself, and that's what I felt like when you said the idea that Roger asked for a family, and they're okay, here's what we'll do, we'll give you your wish, but in this most convoluted way, and it's not what you think you'd be getting. Or even I love the ideas that Al shows up and he's we can't interfere with championships. Those got to be one on their own.
That's out of the question.
It's just you can go you can help all the way up till the final game. That seems kind of fucked up.
Questionable. Yeah.
Also, he showed up and Roger is asking about the baseball game. He's not asking about his dad at all. At that point, I would have been bro, hold on. Can we pause about the baseball stuff? Because the whole reason I called you was because of my dad. He never brings it back up.
I was the Angels obviously can't be involved in the legal system. I love there's this ongoing joke that magic can't help you with the American legal system. And that's what I just...
Yeah, no, it's funny too.
That's funny.
It's crazy. I love too. I love when they gave him all the swag too. The Angels, all the Angels swag. I mean, nowadays, all that. He's give him jackets. Well, it's California out there. It doesn't matter. They'll wear it anyways.
Also, those jackets. Do these kids have jackets? They probably are. They're sleeping in sleeping bags.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
That reminds me, you talked about one of our favorite scenes. One of my favorite scenes was when Danny Glover says, "What do you guys want? Anything, name it." And they choose to have a baseball game with all of their friends. And I was now these are some good kids. They literally could have gotten anything. Danny Glover would have made it happen. And instead,
that's right,
they just want to play a baseball game with not just themselves, but with all the kids in the neighborhood.
And it makes when Knox adopts
nice
them more genuine, because not only is is Knox kind of becoming a father figure to these boys, but the boys are bringing out his own love for the game. At the beginning of the movie, he's almost a Scrooge-like curmudgeon towards baseball. He like his beef that he has with all of these people. I was just like, were you guys in Nam together? Why are things so serious? Like,
he doesn't have any faith in the team.
Right.
he has no faith in the team. He seems like he hates baseball at the beginning of the movie, but the boys help him fall back in love with the game, which I loved.
It just dawned on me.
Yeah.
Frank, you know what may help? You're on your daughter's Wi-Fi. If you click off your video, you probably will be able to hear us better. Like when the camera's trying to do video and audio. That. See, that was so much better.
Yeah. Oh, we can hear him. Oh wow, yeah.
It just dawned on me. Whenever it's like a lag, it's usually
that sounds better.
To do both.
Yeah, I don't need to see myself. So
this is so great. I wanted you to be in the conversation, and
unbelievable.
No,
this is so great.
I do hear all of you though. Good.
That's good. I'm glad we fixed it. But
can we take a second to talk about Ranch Wilder, the announcer who is just living for all of the drama that's happening on the field? He's actively rooting against the Angels as he's announcing their games. I thought he was an amazing villain for this movie.
Oh, excellent villain. You're right. Yeah.
Ranking on the job there too, right? You saw that?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Ranking on the job. Well, I thought it's interesting. Sorry, we have fan theories here and whenever we record, so I'm sorry if I'm being too much, but
no.
There's a history between Knox and it seemed more than what it should have been if they were just.
Well, did you hear the explanation? Because I thought the same thing, and then they explained it afterwards that Danny Glover blames the end of his career on Ranch, because he said he like slid in a way that like injured him on purpose, seemingly on purpose.
Yes, right. Exactly. Yep.
And everything we've heard about Ranch, I believe.
Yeah.
Who names their kid Ranch?
It's funny when you talk about like theories like that. My wife was saying this movie is the, what was it? Either the prequel or the after of the Pigeon Lady.
This is what happens after she loses the kids.
Oh, Maggie!
Can you imagine?
Maggie loses the kids and then she moves to New York.
she's. I mean, she just lost her 2 kids. All the kids. She don't have any kids anymore.
No more government assistance.
Maybe Home Alone 2 happened before this, and her relationship with Kevin is what made her want to start the foster home. And this is the happy ending.
I love this. Happy ending is better.
That's it. We should try to get a hold of her if she's still around and ask her.
You know, a great fan theory I had while watching this movie was that there are no angels, that this boy is experiencing intense trauma and he's envisioning angels. And by simply conveying this to a team that's already highly superstitious, he's able to use the power of positive thinking to turn them into a good team.
Good Lord. Well, we were calling what's his face? God, actually.
Al?
Is it? Yeah, Al. I couldn't think of his name. We were saying that he's actually like the God, you know what I mean? The rest of them are just angels because he doesn't have the full-on angel, mode.
Again, trickster God. I'm saying he's like Al is so like the way that Al operates throughout this entire movie is way more trickster and way more like I'm just having some fun. I have nothing but time on my hands. Like that's.
Yeah, I was like, are you on assignment? Or is this like, did you get like rules sent to you? Because one thing I thought was really interesting about Al is that he's constantly confronting Roger when Roger's in public. So Roger has no choice but to look like an insane boy talking to no one. It's like, if you don't want people to know I'm talking to you, come to me when I'm alone, bro. Why are you doing it at this baseball game?
Also, after he appears to Roger and tells him that there are angels on the field, only the next day does he go, oh, by the way, there are rules. And it's like, now there are rules?
Yeah.
Now you want to tell me what's going on?
Yeah, I agree. So
anyone about us. Well, that would have been helpful, Mr. All-Knowing Angel, to tell me earlier.
I'll give you another theory we can go off. This is getting wild now. This will be the last one. You guys have seen It's a Wonderful Life, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
What if he is an angel that hasn't earned his wings yet?
There you go.
Yeah.
Because he keeps tricking folks.
Yeah. He's got to break it down.
That's funny.
But
Funny.
are there any, I was gonna say, are there any scenes you don't like? Is there anything about the movie that what's your biggest gripe?
My biggest gripe, and I'm so glad you brought this up. This is the very next thing I was gonna say.
Okay.
My biggest gripe is to me, the biggest plot hole is when JP is speaking to Ranch Wilder. We've established that JP does not talk to strangers. Yeah. It's his one defining trait. He does not talk to strangers, even strangers who he has seen at the baseball field before. He doesn't talk to any of the staff. He doesn't talk to any he doesn't talk to Knox. He does not talk to strangers. And it takes him being warmed up to and feeling comfortable before he starts. And they have him be the one who tells Knox. And I'm like, but you've already established that JP doesn't talk to strangers.
Yeah.
That was my one gripe.
I agree. That makes sense. Yeah. That makes sense.
My one gripe was, when the rumor gets out that live angels are helping the team. And, they're basically like, hey, Danny Glover, you cannot sign off on this. You need to make this big announcement. None of the players that are there that have had like real life encounters with angels decide to vouch for this little foster kid. Like, I don't know. Like, I get that you have like a reputation to stand for, but Matthew McConaughey, you were lifted into the air. Like, you felt the hands of angels on you. Like, I understand Danny Glover being like, this is entirely a story about his faith in Roger and his faith in his team and his faith in angels, but some of these players had real hand-to-hand contact that I feel like would have came into play at some point.
I agree totally. You're right. Yeah,
it's helping them win the game. So I guess you don't question it, right?
Well, that was my thing. I was like, why would the owner be like, "Oh, you believe in angels? You gotta go." The dude who brought you all the way to the pennant, like that's where you draw the line. Angels, but sports in general are very superstitious.
Yes,
absolutely.
I was like, so it's weird that you would all of a sudden draw the line at someone believing in angels when there are so many superstitions that occur in sports in general, but especially baseball.
This movie does a really good job of showing, like, in the opening scene, right after they lose their first game, they're like hitting this pole and they're like, why do we do this again? We do it for good luck. And it just goes to show like how superstition plays such a huge part in that team. So that when this little boy says that he sees angels, Danny Glover doesn't have to believe in angels. All he has to do is believe in the superstition. And that's enough to like warrant, listening to this boy and all these crazy things that he's saying. Like, it doesn't make Danny Glover seem crazy because that superstition element is there.
He gets immediately on board.
Well, also, he doesn't believe in angels. He says he considers the boy a good luck charm.
Yeah, that's true. That's the way to do it. Almost every sport has that superstition stuff.
I used to be the same way. When I was a kid, growing up, I used to play. On Sundays, I'd play Madden, and I'd play like the team. I like the Packers. Let's just go figure. I'm nowhere near the Packers, but I used to play the team in Madden before the game when I was a kid. That was just my superstition. It didn't help out at all, but
Well, here's the thing. Maybe it did. That's the magic of this movie. It's like, hey, every little bit helps. Every little bit of faith helps. You don't know. I like Maggie's speech when she stands up and she's just kind of like, hey, like, I don't necessarily believe in angels, but what would you call all the things that are going on? Like, that, just having faith in general should not be looked down on because it's what gets people winning games.
Yeah,
I agree. You're right. Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have ever seen the Broadway show, The Book of Mormon. But what's really interesting about the show is that it goes in, you think, oh, they're going to be making fun of the Mormon faith the whole time. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the show, you're like, oh, this really is a love letter to the idea of faith and how it doesn't really matter the specifics of what someone believes. If what they believe is able to make them a better person, if it makes them happier, if it makes them achieve more, then isn't that beautiful in and of itself? And I think this movie
Yes, it
says
is.
something similar to it.
I agree totally. You guys are right. Yeah, I like that. Different way of looking at it. I like that.
One thing I want to say, just about that scene real fast where they're confronting the whole angel thing. At the beginning of the movie, Knox is upset because the team isn't a unit. Like the first thing he says when he goes back after they lose the first game is, "You guys aren't a team. You don't play as a team. You don't win as a team." And so that moment where they all kind of stand up and they're like, "Hey, we're not going to play for anyone else but Knox." What you're seeing is this team standing in unity for the first time, and all of the gripes that they had about not working together. At that moment, they're one unit, and I think that was like a great character arc for the team as a whole, just to show, because that's really the heart of a lot of sports movies, right? Is like, hey, we're all different and we have to find a way to work together. This one uses angels as an element, but all of them are really about teamwork in that way, and I thought that was a great example of it.
Yeah, no doubt about
it. I'm trying to think, they say this in Remember the Titans. He says attitude reflects leadership. Captain. There you go. Yeah.
Well, it's funny that
it all goes downhill
out, because
it's true.
One of the things that I noticed was they do act as a team, or they act as one once physics start being defied. Like they have joint reactions to the catch, to the bat breaking. Like everyone is unified in their disbelief, and I think it starts there. It's just like, as long as they can get on the same page, then you can get them to be on the same team. And this idea that there's a scene where during the montage when they're starting to win games, where Knox is like, "Angels," and Roger's like, "No, they're not here."
Yeah,
I love that too. They had learned to be a team on their own.
Because sometimes what that shows is that, what the effect of losing has on your confidence, on your self-esteem, where you're just like, you just get knocked out of your groove. It's like
defeated.
Austin Powers losing his mojo. You just don't feel like you're yourself. And so it took them, the Angels did help and interfere greatly in those first few games. But after a while, it was like the confidence of knowing, hey, I can do this. We can do this, was enough for them to win without needing the help of the Angels.
Oh, definitely.
Also, the last little thing I was going to say is I think it's interesting, going back to like this whole trickster idea, that they do not let JP see an angel until it's the absolute, like when JP is by himself and all they need is a win, and JP's just like in tears because he's like, "I tried so hard." I'm like,
that's my favorite scene. Yeah,
who would do this to a child?
Yeah. He's in tears.
I thought the same thing about JP, because I was like, this kid is the most optimistic, faith-based character in this whole movie. It's his optimism and faith that actually inspires Roger to pray for angels to begin with. So I was like, wow, JP really got, he didn't get his prayers answered. No angel showed up for him. He really just had to stay close to Roger this entire time in order for these things to happen.
Oh yeah, definitely.
God has favorites. I don't know what to tell you.
I guess so, huh? That's funny. All right, let's get into reviews. I feel like we could talk about this all night, huh?
Sure.
All right. So we go to IMDb, gave it a 6.2. I guess I'll go first and kind of start off. I'll just kind of I kind of break it down a little bit as far as like the characters and actors. I thought everyone was great. The action, this is like the sport action, we got going into that too. I wish it had a little bit more. But again, the movie's centered around the faith and the whole backstory with the kids. But I'm going to go ahead and, so out of 10, I'm going to give it 8.5. I enjoyed the movie. I would definitely watch it again. We've had I think the length of the movie was good. We've had to some movies where like, holy crap, it's like 2.5 hours. You could have cut like a good 20 minutes off it. So I said, I'm going to go with 8.5. I love the story. I loved everything. It's good heartfelt message. if it's on TV, if I'm flipping through the channels, I'm gonna leave it on. So I'm gonna go with that. Frank, you want to go next?
Yeah, 8.5, just like you. It's amazing. We have the same exact numbers.
Really?
No, I love the movie. I cried a lot. I cried a real lot. I'm very sensitive with that stuff.
Yeah, he's the big baby. I normally cry a lot of movies too, but
it's a tough movie to watch for me. So, but I enjoyed it though. It was good. 8.5 though, all the way across.
Gotcha. Good.
All right, so what's crazy is I love this movie. I'm a little bit harsher of a critic. There are like little things that I think could be better, and because I grade so harshly, like in my scale, I can't give it much more than what I'm going to give it. But I was going to give it like a 7.2. I love this movie, and I think it does so well. I felt like the angel signal scene went on like maybe a smidge too long. But for the most part, for a Disney movie, for a kids movie, for a baseball movie, I found myself like legit worried about the stakes of the championship game. I'm like especially when I know there's no angels, I'm like, what's gonna happen? They kept that tension. So yeah, for me, acting all across the board, 7.2.
Very good.
You know, I think I'm gonna do a 7.5, just slightly above. I love this movie. You know, that scene where they all kind of do the angel flap arms thing at the end is so iconic.
Yeah.
It's such a great way to show what a team can mean to a community or a city. Yep. I thought this movie did a fantastic job of actually kind of fleshing out some of the side characters. Like a baseball team is a lot bigger than a basketball team. So sometimes when you do these sports movies and there's so many people on the team, you don't get the chance to really feel like you care about all of the characters. But I feel like we got a good amount of time with a lot of side characters, enough to, for me to want to root for them. Ultimately, I think this is a fun watch. I think there's better versions of this movie. And I think that's the reason why I'm grading it the way I am, is because I'm like, I feel like Mighty Ducks is actually better than this. Or, I feel like there's some kid-based sports movies that I think do a really good job. But this is definitely a fantastic one to rewatch. And I definitely didn't not like it. Like I was afraid that I was going to rewatch this movie that I loved as a kid and end up hating it. But it still charmed me. So
to your point, T, I just want to say, Neil McDonough, he has this little storyline with
the bubblegum.
Well, like the bubblegum, but I was gonna say like the two Hispanic baseball players. Like again, like they go from like making fun of him and not really to like at the end when like everyone's together, they themselves are like a unit, like a little trio.
Yeah.
And again, that's to me what you were talking about, of like they each get their own little storylines and story arcs, which I think is great to have like that much understanding of like who each of the side characters are.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's funny when we're rewatching a lot of these older movies that came out in the 90s and 80s. You get into a few scenes where you're like, I don't know if that's going to play now. I'm trying to think of the one with the Indians.
Major League.
Major League, where they're they're doing the tomahawk. Definitely. I'm like, that's the reason why they changed their names.
Yeah.
But they still do it in Atlanta, though.
Do they really in Atlanta?
Atlanta Braves, they still do it. Yeah, tomahawk chop.
Give it time, I guess, right?
Yeah.
One can hope.
But again, for the time when this movie came out, like I said, I think it's a great movie.
I would say, if you like this movie and you're not familiar with the movies from this time period, I would greatly recommend Rookie of the Year. I think it is a better version of this movie to me, now that I've rewatched both of them fairly recently.
That's an excellent movie.
Very similar. Very similar.
Yes.
I've seen that. I haven't seen it in a while, that's for sure. It's definitely, like I said, I got a whole list of just movies that we're gonna. I try to get the fans, and you'll know, I try to get the fans involved, and I try to get a lot of people to vote.
Sure.
But it is what it is.
I feel like I feel honored and privileged to like have grown up in a time where we like movies like this were made targeted to kids that were still good movies. You know, like I feel, and it could just be me being older, but like I feel like some movies are like very childish, or like they don't really have like story to them. They're more products or cash grabs.
Yeah.
But I feel like this was like a good movie that also in itself was just kind of like integration, you know, but like in a way that like was more about faith and the enjoyment of baseball in general than it was trying to sell you specifically Angels.
Yep.
I like what you said about just the time period too, because I would be interested to know if you guys are able to come across sports movies centered around children made prior to the 1980s. Because in terms of like seeing kids represented on teams and seeing like them giving the spotlight, I can't really think of anything like prior to that Meatballs era. But in the 90s, it felt like we had Little Giants and Mighty Ducks and
The Big Green,
the Sandlot.
Big Green, Sandlot. Like there were so many, and they were just such great bonding movies for me and my friends in the 90s too. Like
we did The Big Green. I don't know if you've seen that lately. It was rough to watch.
I didn't think it aged well. I just
it was rough to watch. But no, you're right. I'm trying to think off the top of my head, and even of some of the movies we've done. Like I'm thinking like Bad News Bears, but that's more towards adults because it's R-rated. That's a good point. No, a lot of them, the 90s, full of them.
Yeah.
I have a question. Has anyone seen? This is a remake. From like 1951, 1957?
1951, yeah.
Has anyone seen the original?
No, I never have.
I have no idea what it's even about.
No, I don't.
If it's similar, but yeah.
This movie reminds me a lot of a film from, I know they made one in the 70s. I think there was one that came out before that called Heaven Can Wait, about the boxer who dies too soon. And, you know, the angels are like, hey, we're going to put you in the new body. Another sports angels movie that actually does a pretty good job.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to look. I don't see anything really, but I don't know what it is. All right, so like I said, this is the time where we normally talk about the next movie that we're gonna do. So I put up a poll. It's gonna be D2 Mighty Ducks versus Mystery Alaska. We already briefly talked about this. I'm sure, and again, we're seem like we're about the same age, right? 30. I'm 34. I don't know.
Oh, you guys are 35.
35. Frank, no offense. Sorry, you got a few years on that. Have you seen any of these, Frank?
What's that?
You've seen these movies, correct?
D2, yeah.
Yeah, D2, yeah, because I've only seen the D2, and it's looking like that's probably going to be the winner as I'm looking at the poll right now.
Yeah, that's fine.
So you guys, I can sure if you guys want to cast your vote.
I'm voting for D2 Mighty Ducks. That was the tape that I wore down as a kid. You know, I think the Mighty Ducks does a better job than most of these movies of making the team members really lovable. Like I feel like the cast has a chemistry. I think Emilio Estevez does a fantastic job with the cast. Joshua Jackson, who plays Charlie, the lead character, they have a great chemistry. And you know, it makes hockey seem really exciting as well.
Yeah,
as
very
a kid
true.
who wasn't familiar a lot with hockey, being in the South, it made it really fun.
They just released a documentary about Sean Weiss.
Yeah.
About
he's been on Boy Meets World a few times, actually. We've talked about
I know. He's been in a lot of stuff too, especially back in the 90s. I'm definitely interested in watching that documentary about his drug, his whole drug use and all that stuff. So
road to recovery.
Yeah. It's a shame, but seems like he's doing well now.
That's great.
All right. Anything else you wanna talk about, discuss? This was a fun. I had a blast. Great episode.
Great. You guys are awesome, Tony, TC. It was a pleasure.
Yeah.
Got to do it again. I'll do it again when I'm back in Florida, so I can actually do it a little better.
Yeah.
So you can hear me. But
I had so much fun. me and Siege talk about 90s movies all the time. These are like, there's so many times when we're at a party and then we just get caught up in having one of these conversations and then we're talking for 40 minutes and then realize it. So this is right up our alley.
Absolutely. I want to thank you guys for like, again, reminding me of this movie when you were like, baseball movies. It popped into my head and watching it again. I don't know how to say, but it like unlocked a core memory. I was like, I used to watch this movie all the time. And then I watched it as an adult and I was like, and I see why. This is a feel good movie with like
feel good movie.
With amazing cast.
Yeah, and it's amazing that again, you can't really find this movie anywhere.
No.
Yeah.
Nope.
Oh, one thing I just want to throw out there before the score of this movie is fantastic. The music really helps build that emotional connection. And there's something about kid movies in the 90s. They had very whimsical, like, full orchestra scores that I feel like you just don't get in modern day children movies. So I want to throw a shout out to the score of the
very true.
Yeah, it's true.
I wanted to ask you guys, because like I said, I know I've been kind of following your podcast a little bit. Because you're getting close to the end of it, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So we've been reviewing Boy Meets World, and the show has 7 seasons in total, and we just wrapped up season 6. So we're about to start our last season.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Do you have an idea on what you're going to do after? Because I kind of have. I got an idea for you guys to do too.
Really, we love hearing everyone's ideas. So throw them at us and let us know.
Because again, the whole premise is obviously, watching a white or basically white, show, The Wonder Years.
I love The Wonder Years.
You're talking TC's language. Absolutely. Like here's the thing: we're not going to say no.
You're not going to say no. Okay.
It's so funny because so many people want us to do Girl Meets World, which is the sequel series to Boy Meets World. But to your point, Wonder Years is kind of the unofficial prequel series, and I would much rather do that one. There's a lot more meat on the bones with Wonder Years, and talk about an amazing 100%. Soundtrack.
Absolutely, and it's funny because they talk about it in their show. It's like you kind of because it's Fred Savage, Ben Savage. People want to compare. But again, they're 2 totally different shows. One's definitely a drama, and the other's a comedy. And then I also wanted to ask you too if you've seen any of the episodes of the reboot, because I started watching that too.
I haven't. I saw that it got like a second season. I've been really excited to check that out.
It's interesting. I think you should check it out. Yeah,
because like one of the things that I think it's doing, which is something that T and I have always talked about wanting from Boy Meets World, is it tells the exact same story, but in the exact same timeline, but from a different perspective. And that's pretty much what we felt like our podcast was doing. It's like, okay, yeah, this is happening, or these are the lessons like this little white boy is being taught. But does that lesson have the same meaning, or can it even be taught to like a young Black child? Like if you're like, this is what you do with cops, it's just like, that's a great lesson to teach a white kid. But what do you teach a Black kid? So yeah.
Corey Matthews, I will not be peeing on the cop car anytime soon, regardless.
Exactly.
No, you're right. It's something to think about for sure. Yeah.
I hate to cut you off, guys, but I gotta go. I have to go see my son. I haven't seen him, and
right.
I didn't know. I thought we were going to do this at 4 out of 5. So it's. But I appreciate it. You guys.
All good. This was a blast.
Pleasure to talk to. And we're going to do this again. Got to do it again.
Absolutely.
You guys have a good night.
All right.
Okay? Have a good one. Thanks, Frankie.
And Frank, if you want, when he sends that to you, can send it to me.
Gotcha. Yep. We'll do.
Okay. All right. Have a good night, guys.
Good night.
Have a good one.
Wait for him to.
Oh, and FYI, while he's hopping off, remember this trick. It dawned on me because we've had this problem before. Since you guys do audio, if you ever find it to where he's like glitching or there's a delay, turn off video, and it's like as you saw, it really changed.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I'm gonna help him off. I'm gonna just remove him. So.
But yeah, no, I think that'd be a good avenue you guys run down of.
I would love to talk about the Wonder Years.
like I said, I'm waiting for my invite. So just let me know when.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's finish wrapping this up and then
Got you. Yeah. But yeah, no, I mean, we're pretty much at the end. So I don't know if there's anything else you want to talk about or say. I think general note is we love the movie.
Yeah, remember to check out our podcast, Bruh Meets World. That's BRUH Meets
Gotcha.
World. We're at Gmail. We are on all of the platforms. You can find our podcast at any place that you're listening to this. We're also on YouTube. We have stuff. If you want it, we're there.
Just to throw out there, if you guys aren't interested in Boy Meets World, we are doing a summer movie series where we've been doing little mini episodes. So far, we talked about The Little Mermaid and Across the Spider-Verse. Nice. So if you guys are interested in hearing our thoughts on those movies, you can go check that out as well.
Awesome. I saw you also have merch.
We got merch.
We got merch. Absolutely. Awesome. Definitely check out our merch store.
Awesome. This was a blast, guys. Till next time, that's the ball game.
Sorry, I just needed to figure out how to stop recording.